Testing. 1 2 1 2 3. Test. Okay, cool. Hello. Welcome to the program. This is the Black Ponderer. My name is Neil Trotter. I'm the host of the Black Ponderer. It's a YouTube channel where we talk about philosophy. Particularly, we talk about philosophical texts. We read philosophical texts, and then we give, we just have a discussion. We talk about the themes that are in those texts, the philosophical themes, or we use philosophy as a framework to discuss, deep and thought-provoking topics in the world. That's what we usually do, but we also do these live streams, and these live streams are more free balling. They're more like a hangout. They're more like, just imagine just chilling at a bar or a lounge or like, in a club, and you're just kind of having a conversation with some pals over some drinks or whatever. It's more chill and it's less lecture, like I'm not talking at you, but more like dialogue. I'm talking with you, and we just allow that to occur. And so today's topic, and usually it's more a general topic, like today we got consumerism. This is actually a requested topic from a viewer, and we'll talk about that. Consumerism. What is that? What's that all about? I'm gonna read the description I have on the show notes here, the little description section below. Oh, excuse me. Busy day, a little tired. Over where I'm from, my time zone is 7 p.m. So it's evening. It's not like too late, but it's starting to be toward the end of the day. So I might hear a few yawns here and there. So there's buying things for necessity. We all need necessities, and unfortunately, we have to buy necessities. That's the world that we live in. It's a capitalist world, right? I don't like it, but food, shelter, water, and you can even go further, like education. I would say that's a necessity. What else? Healthcare. I would say that's a necessity, but you have to buy these things, right? There's public education, which is free, but you still got to pay for your supplies and stuff, and then you get to the higher education, and then that's not free at all here in the United States of America. But anyway, necessities are, you got to pay for them. So there's that, right? Is that consumerism? No, I would say it's not. But there's purchasing stuff because you want it. And let's say you want something. You just maybe you don't need it. You just want it. Like, hey, I want to buy some video games, some video games right here. So, I want that new Nintendo Switch that's coming out, or, the PlayStation 5 next gen. I don't got that one. I got the first gen, my old ass GameCube. You just want to buy stuff that you like, movies, technology, maybe a really fancy mug, right? This is just an average mug, but sunglasses. You got some aviators. Sunglasses, there's many sunglasses from various prices, but I got me these are $100 glasses. I bought these like, maybe it's like, oh man, Trying to think. It might have been 15 years ago I bought. These are still lasting. I used to buy really cheap glasses from the gas station or the Walmart or Target type of glass, $10 shades, and they would break on me. Like, they wouldn't last a year, maybe like 6 months. Sometimes they would break. But these aviators, you get what you pay for. $100, and they still last, and been like 15, probably over 15 years. So hey, $100 well spent, I would say. Anyway, so there's that, right? Maybe you want it. I wouldn't say it. Is that consumerism, buying what you want? Not necessarily. Then there's buying just for the sake of buying. Where shopping is not just acquiring things you need or want, but when the activity of shopping in and of itself is the aim. Shopping as a leisure, purchasing as a hobby, buying goods and services as a way of life. Now we're getting into consumerism, right? When buying things become an expression of identity and shopping becomes a culture, that's what we're talking about. What does that mean? Let's discuss. All right, so that's when we're talking more about consumerism, where it's, you're just buying stuff just to buy it. And you might say people don't do that. It's like, well, do they? I don't know. It's kind of like you get an Amazon Prime subscription, and you're like, well, I got the Prime subscription, I got to start buying stuff, or I'm gonna, this Prime subscription isn't gonna mean anything, right? So you just start kind of buying shit, right? And we kind of live in that culture, right, where an activity that you just do, like, hey, I'm just gonna go shopping. Why? Not for necessity. I'm just gonna go shopping. And sometimes it's like, you go shopping, so lots of people, it's not that they want a particular item, they're just like, it's payday, I just got my paycheck, I'm gonna go shopping, maybe I'll find something that I like. That's more like consumerism. And then, so shopping in and of itself is the aim. Purchasing as a hobby, it becomes a hobby, right? So we gotta talk about that. I always like to start the discussion with like anecdotes or perhaps personal experiences that I've had, and maybe that helps flesh out the topic for me a little better. So I, as a teenager, particularly, it's hard for me to say that word, particularly. As a teenager, I was a mall rat, what they call the mall rat. I hung out at the mall a lot. I guess I didn't hang out like a lot, but that was an activity I did. On the weekends with buddies, we would just go to the mall, and we would do basically what you would call window shopping, which is we would just kind of just mess around and pick up products, go to shops, maybe try stuff on, or play with some products and just put it down and be like, yeah, I'm not buying. Maybe we would buy like one or two things, but it was more just window shopping, and we just hang out at the mall, and that's like an activity that people do a lot. Teenagers do it. I don't know so much nowadays, right? Because online shopping is like a lot more of a thing people do. Lots of people don't really go to malls like in the 90s. They still got malls, right? But they're not as popular as they were in the 90s, because you can just go to Amazon or something like that and shop. Online shopping is like the new mall. Like Google, you go to Google and then you click the shopping tab. That's like the new mall. Facebook Marketplace. Right? There's still like, there's thrifting. Like people do that a lot. They'll go thrifting, and that's a whole thing that we can talk about. Is that consumerism? I don't know. Maybe not. But anyway, yeah, I would go to the mall and I'd be chilling with my buddies. And I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area in California. In San Francisco, they had a venue. It was like it was called the Metreon. That's what it was called. It was called. I believe. Well, I don't know if it's still. I haven't checked in a while, but I think it's still around. No, it's not. Or is it? I don't know. I think it's a Target now. No, I think they turned it into a Target. But it used to be, the Metreon used to be this place that was owned by Sony, the company Sony, and they would have Sony products. Particularly, there I go again. It's hard for me to pronounce that word. Particularly, they had PlayStation products, the Sony PlayStation, and me and my buddies. So I'm a gamer, as you know. Maybe I got the little gaming setup. Now I'm not like a hardcore gamer, or like one of those people who has like an extremely large game collection. But yeah, that's one of my good pastimes. I like playing video games, and I guess I am not as much of a gamer now. I kind of take it a lot less seriously, or like I'm not as into games is because I'm an adult, or because I got other responsibilities that take a lot of time. And games, you get modern video games today, they consume a lot of time, which is great. But when you're an adult and you got like a family to take care of and stuff, and dependents and a full-time job and stuff like that, you don't got time to be doing all that. So but yeah, when I was a little kid, and I had like a lot more time, didn't have independence, just hung out. Just school was just a thing that was basically what I was responsible for. But other than that, not much else. So you had a lot more time. So I was really into games. I hung out with a lot of people who were gamers, and we would go to San Francisco Metreon, and Sony would showcase the latest video games and consoles. They'd have like the kiosks. The game, they would have the game set up for you to play, and we would just play games. And after they also had the store where you can buy the games, right? And you'd look at the games, and I did mostly that. I wasn't like shopping for clothes. I wasn't really big on clothes or other stuff. Shoes, I know shoes were like a big thing when I was growing up. Jordans. That shoe people was the sneakerheads, or they like basketball shoes. I never really got into that. My thing was video games, right? And so they had the GameStop. Way back in the day, they had like Funkoland, which is GameStop, I guess, right? I would go to a lot of video game stores, and I would just browse, with my buddies. We would just pick up games, and it would be like products. Basically, we'd pick up products, we'd pick up games and talk about them. Like, yeah, this game is cool, I really want this game. But of course, like, I was broke, I was cheap. I didn't have much money, so I'd be able to buy like a game like every other month or something like that. So a lot of times we would just go to the store and talk about products. So in my instance, it was games, video games, right? And it was just a lot of window shopping, and it became like a hobby, right? Or like a pastime that I would do. I'd go to my buddies, and we would go to the video game stores. We would just like hang out in there, talk to the employees, talk about what things that we were buying, that we were saving up. I'm like, yeah, I'm saving up for this game right here, and I got 2 more weeks, and then I'll be able to get that game, right? You could pre-order stuff. Right, and it became its own activity, right? And so I would say like that's to me, that's like consumerism, right? So there's that kind of consumerism where it's because you think of the word consumerism, you're like, yeah, it's just you're constantly buying shit. But for me, I want to like qualify it a little more, where you're not just buying shit like consumerism, which if you're just buying stuff all the damn time, yeah, that's definitely consumerism. But I would qualify it even more and say like, well, consumerism more is like when you make it, the shopping becomes like a leisure for you, and it's not, it becomes like a pastime in and of itself, right? You preparing to buy stuff, You saving up for it, you talking about it, you get your plan, like, yeah, so 2 weeks, and it becomes kind of this engrossing activity that you do. All right, and I remember those days. They were like they were interesting days. I had a lot of fun. They were innocent times. It's kind of interesting to think about, right? Because I'm definitely one of those people who I would say like down with consumerism, right? Products revolving on your life around buying shit. That could be not non-fulfilling. You'll like focus on buying shit, then you still feel empty. You're like, why am I not filling this hole? It's because you really can do only so much buying stuff, right? But at the same time, like when I was doing the mall rat thing, when I was hanging out with buddies and we would just cruise around the different shops and talk about the products that we would buy, and pick the products up that we couldn't afford and try them out. Whether that be the video games on the kiosk, like, wow, this is cool, man, can't wait till I buy that. It was a consumerism, but it wasn't like, I look back at those days very fondly. I don't really do that anymore, but it's nice. So in that way, that's a kind of consumerism too, I think. And so, like, I guess the argument would be then, like, is that kind of consumerism, is that negative, right? Or is it only when you just like, you're buying stuff and you're like, you're going into debt, or you're not like budgeting properly, and or you're buying for FOMO. I was talking about what I was telling my wife about, like, streaming. I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about consumerism, and she brought up the topic of FOMO, fear of missing out, and that's why a lot of people buy stuff, right? And this is interesting. They just buy stuff because they know everybody else is gonna get it. So that's one. Or like she was more saying like, oh, it's a sale. A sale is on. This product's on, and you gotta buy it before the sale goes away. You don't want to miss out on the clearance sale or something like that, right? And then that becomes this all-engrossing activity where you're constantly looking for sales, and you're cutting coupons, and you're looking for the latest deals, and you're like, oh, I gotta buy it before the price is not as good as it is. And then you might even be like one of those people. Collectors do that, right? When people collect, and they're always constantly looking for like a product that they can buy at a certain price, right? And they're watching the price like, oh, I gotta buy this before it goes up in price, man. I know the video game collecting, that's a very expensive hobby, right? Which I'm not interested in at all, frankly, because it's too expensive. But I guess I'm just not really a collector, period. But it's the video game collecting is very expensive, which is very interesting to me, because I assumed, right, because nowadays you can basically get any video game that's ever been released digitally, and I thought that was gonna like make physical media, particularly like old physical video games, very cheap. Like, for example, the original Legend of Zelda or something like that came out in 1985, like the old cartridge. You could just download that off the internet for free, right? Or you can like do it officially. You can buy the latest Nintendo system, and you can just get their service, and they allow you to play it. So I was thinking, like, it's so easy to just access these games. You can just play them digitally. Why would anybody spend money getting the physical copy? There's no reason, right? So I was thinking like the prices for these physical games that are old would drop, but no, it's like they keep increasing, which is very, because I guess there's people love that, to have that physical. I like physical media too. I like having a copy of the physical. We can talk about that too, but I'm not going to pay like $300 for a video game, right? Some people will do that, and particularly when I can just download it for free somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But people will do that, and that's fascinating to me. I didn't expect that to be the case. I thought, like, yeah, these old Super Nintendo games that are like cartridges, they're gonna go way down in price. Nobody's gonna buy it, but no, they're in hot demand, man. That's crazy. So yeah, we can talk about that. But what I want to do is I want to go back to the mall rat thing, and I want to talk about something. I forgot to get a little prop or a little display, something I want to show you. Just give me a minute or so, or I'm gonna get this thing where I can talk about this topic that relates to this. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Hello. Yep. Okay, I'm back. I can't believe I found this at a record store, a local record store. I was shocked when I saw it. I'm like, whoa. Here it is. This is a vinyl record. I forgot. You see it? I forgot. Mac. What was I gotta look it up. Mac Purasu or Mac Plus. Is that the name of the artist? I think it's Macintosh Plus. Now I gotta look it up. Yeah, Vectroid. Okay. Can I show you? Let me see if I can show it right here. Can I? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so Macintosh Plus. Man, it's amazing how they can just get your information. How do they know the person's birthday? I guess really. Maybe the person shared it online or something. It's crazy. But anyway, let's go back to my face. Yeah, it's an artist. Let me go back. And it's a artist that does this genre called vaporwave, and I can't believe I found it. This was what is the name of this? Floral Shop, I think it's called. Floral Shop. I was trying to read the Japanese. Yeah, Floral Shop. Yeah. And I love this album. I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I saw this. It was like, I think it was $50, which is pretty damn expensive for a vinyl, but shit, I'll take it because it's like. But I want to talk about this kind of music because it's very it kind of look at that pink. First of all, I mean, we could talk about vinyl records and how that can be consumerism. Right? Amazing. I'm just gonna put it back right quick. What else is in here? Oh. That's dope. I forgot about this poster. floral shop. Put that on the side for now. Okay, so yeah, so vaporwave is a genre of music, and I'm sure maybe you're familiar with it. It's a popular internet. You hear it a lot on the internet. Vaporwave, in case you don't know, it's a genre of music that uses heavy samples from like the 80s and the early 90s, the early 1990s and the 1980s. And it uses samples from that kind of music, but it's not just music. It's like commercials from the 90s and the 80s, and like and just general media, right? From that era, and it just mixes it with all types of sounds. And so when you listen to this kind of music, you get this rush of if you were born in the 1980s, or you grew up, if you're like an 80s baby, or you grew up in the 90s, like you listen to this music and it just floods you with like nostalgia because it's like jam-packed full of like 1980s, early 1990s, like consumerist, like consumerism essentially. It's like pop culture of the 80s and the 90s, right? But particularly like the early 90s. It's like perfect for my era, which is like is hilarious. It's very fascinating, right? Because it's specifically like my era. Somebody who was born in the 1980s and like grew up in the 90s. It's like, I guess millennial, the Y generation Y. Millennial generation. Right. And it's like in the music, it's kind of satirical in a sense. It's satirical, and it's a bit of a parody, and it's kind of poking fun of consumerism. It is saying like it is interesting because they'll like this kind of music. If you just like listen to it on YouTube, they'll sample like commercials, like Capri Sun commercials, or like Kool-Aid commercials where they had the Kool-Aid man like who busts through walls and shit. Back, I mean, that's just like what Randy Savage, or what was that wrestler that did the Slim Jim? All that old ass like marketing that you saw in the 80s. Most people, many people like who weren't born then, they'll be like, they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's like very particular of that era. But if you grew up in that area, you know all about what I'm saying. And it's done in a way, and this album, I think this is like one of the best, or it's like a classic album of that style of music. And I gotta be holding correctly. Okay, there you go. And I think it's fascinating because it really does bring me back to that mall rat era when I used to just hang out at the mall with buddies, and they would play like music. The mall music would be playing in the background, and you were just surrounded by like all this marketing shit. And there's this nostalgic aspect to that. And you got the question, like, for me, it fills me with like a little joy, but is that healthy? Sometimes I think about it as like, is this like a drug or something? It's like a negative drug. Like, I'm so attached to like these memories, but these memories are like based off of like commodity products and like marketing and pop culture of the 90s, which is kind of shallow. It's very fascinating when you really think about it. And so this music, this vaporwave music, which is quite philosophical, if you really think about it, it's quite interesting, like that genre of music, because it does have a lot of philosophy in it, because it's kind of this, it's satirical, it's like social commentary, it's parody, but it actually kind of sounds, it's musical too. It's quite fascinating. But yeah, sometimes I just listen to it because I just enjoy how it sounds. And then other times I listen to it because it just fills me with nostalgia. But yeah, it's kind of interesting when you say like, yeah, nostalgia, man. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Because you'll get nostalgic over like commercials that you saw, or like marketing campaigns, right, that you see, or like it's just I'll just put this up, this picture right here. Oh, wait a minute, there we go. That picture of the cityscape and like that lo-fi resolution pictures, it reminds me of like a Kodak film, which like the picture is nostalgic. It just reminds me of like 80s, because back during that time you had a lot of those, it's like Miami Vice and shit, or like NYPD Blue, or all those like TV shows that took place at night, and they're about like crime noir and shit. It's very nostalgic. You have to, but it's interesting to think about, because you have to kind of reflect and say, I often do this. I'm like, is this healthy? Is this healthy to like go into a mall and feel nostalgic? I mean, a mall is just a place where you buy shit, right? Like, should I be having this rush of positive emotions off of like consumerism, right? And I think vaporwave kind of, and that's what I like. It's a very fascinating genre of music, but because it's more than, because you can look at it very superficially, or you can listen to it very superficially. I recommend, like, if you haven't done so, just check out, like, for the longest time, like, that album, Floral Shop, which is considered a classic album of the vaporwave genre. It was not available physically. You could always just you could listen to it online for free. But then, like, I guess it got so popular, like the artist was like, okay, I'll release it. I'll try and like make fit. You can buy it physically, which is pretty cool. Although I don't think it's available physically anymore, but it doesn't matter. I got it because I'm like, yeah, this is actually one of my favorite albums, music albums, period. Which is kind of funny because you listen to it. I encourage you to listen to it. It's called it's by Macintosh Plus. It's called Floral Shop. Just check it out. You might be like, this kind of sounds like crap, because the sampling is very strange. Like, I think the first song is a sampling of a Sade song, Sade, which is like, Sade was really big in the 90s and the 80s. I think bigger in the 80s than the 90s, right? And so that's why it's sampled. But it's this weird lo-fi, like slowed down. And it's interesting how it sounds. It sounds like, because, I grew up on cassette tape media. And cassette tape, if you played it too much, it would start sounding like shitty. It was not a very good media. It's not the best kind of media to save sound. But, that's what we had. And cassette tapes are still like, people, artists still release their music on cassette tape. So it's kind of fascinating. Oh, hello, Anant. What do you think about Thus Spoke Zarathustra? I have a video on Thus Spoke Zarathustra. So check that out. Just search my channel for Thus Spoke Zarathustra. But in a nutshell, I really like it. I think it's a great book. But if you want to know why, check out my video on it. What was I talking about? I lost my train of thought. But yeah, but that album, Floral Shop, it's I really like it. But yeah, I could talk all day about that genre, and I think it does tie back to consumerism, right? Because I just go back to the mall. Like, you're at the mall. Me and my friends would hang out in the mall as teenagers, and we would be surrounded by these products that you just don't really see anymore. and and so these products, and I mean, I could just say any example, like a Super Nintendo, for instance, or Sega Genesis, like that kind of shit, or what else, like Jordans, like old ass Jordans, shoes, very nostalgic, or like Hot Topic, which they still Hot Topic is still around, right? But the Hot Topic that I'm talking about, where that was like one of the only stores where you can buy like anime shirts. But this is before like anime was extremely like mainstream. Now anime is like everywhere. You can go to like Walmart and buy an anime shirt. Right? But back then, like you a shirt with video game logos or like anime logos, that was rare. That was rare. You'd have to go to an anime convention to get that, or like import it, which was hard to do back in the 90s or like even the early 2000s. That was kind of hard to do. But Hot Topic had it. Even like saying that, thinking about like that store Hot Topic is very nostalgic. Things like that. And so it's just fascinating when I think about consumerism, because that's what I think about, and that's why I brought it up, like the consumerism as like culture, or consumerism as like a way of life or a way of leisure. And I don't have like all negative things to say about that. And then Joshua Baker, hello. Do you think people were as nostalgic about things in the 80s and 90s as they are now? Probably not, because you lived it, but I'm just putting myself as somebody who was born in the 80s and who grew up in the 90s. I'm putting myself back in that time, and I'm thinking about those days. And I'm just thinking about when I was growing up, and it was nostalgic. Like, it did feel nice, and I did have fuzzy feelings. So there was that. I'm thinking like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Which was like really big, shit like that. What else? Power Rangers. Like Power Rangers was big when I was a little kid, and the original Power Rangers, which is its own thing, where you could talk about how Power Rangers is really they just took some old footage from like some old Japanese shows and mixed it together with new American like acting, and they kind of like spliced it together to save money. And then you got what's called Power Rangers, right? Quite fascinating. Things like that. You just think back about those things, or Capri Sun, or High C. The little box cart, or Now Laters, thinking about nobody, The Simpsons, right? Or I was about to say Butterfinger, and I remember the commercials of Butterfinger, which had Bart Simpson in it, and that felt. And I, as a kid, I remember those, and I'm like, yeah, let me go to the store and buy some Butterfinger, because I like Bart Simpson. So I don't know if it was nostalgia, but there was that feeling of comfort, and like I've done a live stream on nostalgia already, but we can still elaborate on it, because nostalgia, it is a longing for the old school days, but you can be nostalgic about things that are current. Isn't that interesting? Nostalgia is crazy. I'm thinking about, but it's very interesting. But I do think it relates to consumerism. Consumerism and nostalgia, they intersect. They intersect. Because people will buy shit if it reminds them of like happy feelings from the past. That's why remakes are so popular, right? Or like remakes. I've been let's just keep going with the examples. Oh shit, I don't think that's gonna stretch. Let me put this down. when I was a teenager, I played this video game that I was a really big gamer, as I've said, and I played like this game called Final Fantasy VII. I was 15, I think. That game was like, like many people that played that game. It was like, you look back now and you're like, damn, that shit consumed my life, or like it's kind of odd, but I think many people have that. They have that something that they really like. Some people don't. Some people don't have that, but I do. I have. Final Fantasy VII was this game I played, and I was just drawn the fuck into it. And people who love that game, they know. And so like Sony, or like the company that makes that game, Square Enix, they understand. They're like, oh, we'll just remake this shit, and then people will buy it because they got that nostalgia for it. And that's me. That's what I did. So I got I just bought it used. It's a horrible case, right? Oh, you can't even see it because it's pre-made game. But this is for PlayStation. They remade the damn game, right? They came out and of course, like, and that's the original. That's of course, like, what they're gonna do. We're so much suckers, right? We're suckers, right? Of course, what they got to do. So the game was one game, and Square Enix is like, we should remake the game and like make it 3, make it a trilogy, because they'll buy all 3. We'll just stretch it out because that's the easy way to make money. We don't have to make a new story. We got the stuff, and they suckered, man. Oops. Oh man, let me pick that up right quick. So I just bought I printed out the box. I think it's like in Dutch or whatever. I don't care. See, I'm not a collector like that, so I don't care. Some people, and I'm just gonna like cut it out and put it in the box, so I just know what it. This is just, I bought it used for cheap, because I'm not trying to pay the full amount for a game, but yeah, I still bought it. So say what you. But yeah, like, you play that game. I play that game and a rush of nostalgia, because I remember playing that game and being like, just captivated by the world, the story, and then they're remaking it, and I'm like, whoa, I gotta play it. I mean, it's just not even a question. I'm going to buy this because I gotta relive that shit. It's a drug, man. And that's, and so I'm buying products based off of nostalgia. I think that's a huge contributor to consumerism, is nostalgia. But I guess it's more just capitalism co-opting nostalgia, which that's what capitalism does, right? It just like takes anything. It takes so much stuff and just uses it to like make products that you buy and shit. And nostalgia is one of those things. It's like it always takes advantage of human wants and desires. You could talk about all types of shit, like sugar, for instance. Like, humans need sugar to survive, and we've been conditioned to like seek out sugar because sugar used to be rare and shit in early human beings. Now it's like, and food companies understand that. So like, oh, we'll just make everything sugar because that'll, because humans they naturally drawn to sugar. So they're gonna and so now like everything is sugar. And it's just like the company's taking advantage of like this inherent aspect of human nature, and is like just pushing it on you for just to sell products. Right? Same thing with nostalgia is like, well, companies understand like people are drawn to like happy memories, right? I think I'm gonna have to close this door because of my doggy. I'll be right back. You probably still hear the dog, but you won't hear him as much. But at the same time, like, is it bad? Is it bad? Everything in moderation, right? As long as I'm not breaking the bank. One could say like, oh, that's just bad. They're just making money off of your nostalgia. They're not even trying. That's kind of true, right? Not denying it, but if it gives you joy, that's fine. As long as you're not going into debt over it. So I guess the question is consumerism in general bad? Like, should buying shit make you happy? Is the question. That's the question. And I don't think so. I think if it's fine to a certain extent, it's just when it gets kind of like when you start going into debt, or like the products you're buying are like not like ethically made and things like that. Then you gotta start factoring that in. But Joshua Baker says maybe buying things beyond your need could be considered consumerism. I don't think I would think of being out of necessity consumerism. Buying out of necessity, yeah, like we need water and food, and unfortunately, like some people say, "Oh, water's free." No, I have to pay a water bill. It's not free. Like, is that consumerism? No. So yeah, I would say like buying out of necessity is not consumerism. But what about like buying, like what I was doing? Like buying video games. That's consumerism, is it? I don't need this. I don't need this. Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's not the newest one. And the newest one is called Rebirth, which I haven't gotten yet. But I was like, I want to replay this because I'm such a sucker. I want to replay it again. So is buying things that you want consumerism? I would at first I was going to say like, no, man. Consumerism when you just buy shit just for the sake of buying it. But now I'm thinking about it more. It's like, no, yeah, actually that's consumerism. Like buying shit. But I would say like, well, just because it's consumerism doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Maybe, or maybe it does. I don't know. All I'm saying is like, I'm guilty of it too. I'll buy shit. I'm not a minimalist like those people that don't own shit. Like, which is, hey, that I commend. I wish I could do that. That would be nice, but I'd be miserable. I'd be miserable. Like living in a house where there's just barely anything in it. Nah, that ain't my life. But not saying. That would be nice. I think some people would argue like, if you just bought the game digitally, you wouldn't have this object. But I like having objects, even if I have to like do printouts and put them in. I don't care about pristine quality, but I need something physical because I guess it just reminds me of when I was a kid and I used to have physical media. But it's fascinating. So is there anything else am I missing in terms of the topic? Let me look back at my notes or my show notes. When buying becomes an expression of identity, right? You're shopping because it becomes a culture in and of itself, right? So you're like cutting coupons and like what Joshua Baker is saying. Some people cut coupons because they trying to save money, and that is consumerism in a sense, right? But it's not necessarily bad because they just trying to be frugal. It's like they try to save as much money as possible. I mean, that can get too far, but maybe you're you got a family and you're really trying to save money, right? So you're like trying to find the latest deals. You're paying attention in all the catalogs. You get one of those grocery catalogs that they always have. I see them. I don't pay attention. I probably should pay attention to those. Probably save a lot of money. But I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to like dedicate all that time to do it. My grandma used to do it. She'd spend like an hour or two a day just like going through and cutting coupons and like, and which was great. Like we saved a lot of money doing that, but that's a lot of time. And so when you would say like, well, is that consumerism? I would say yes, but you do what you got to do. So consumerism can be bad depending on the motivation behind it. Now, one could argue that, hey, it's a shame that your grandma had to do that. So because it's a shame that she has to spend so much time cutting coupons to save money. It's not her fault, but it's still bad. Like the situation is bad, right? One could argue like that, and so that's why consumerism is bad, because people have to like spend so much time like constantly trying to save money when they could be just doing other things. Like okay, I'll take that. But for grandma, it was like fun. Like some people, finding the latest deals and like jumping on the sales is fun to them. Another example of that is Black Friday. Now they got the Cyber Monday, right? I did the Black Friday once, and I was like, yep, not doing this again. It was for the Nintendo Wii. If you recall, if you were there at the time when the Nintendo Wii came out, it was very hard to get. It's one of those things. It's one of those products that they're hard. They sell out like instantly. So you gotta they'd have the Black Friday sale, and you'd wake up like at 4 a.m. or whatever, sometimes even earlier. I think me and my twin brother, we were like, okay, we're gonna wake up at 4 a.m. and we're gonna get in line, and we're gonna see if we can get this Nintendo Switch, this Nintendo Wii. And we didn't get it. And we did all that, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really doing this again. But some people was having a blast. They were having a time in their life. Or maybe they were like lying to themselves. I don't know. But some people literally some people would walk up to me and be like, oh, you got it? Okay, happy shopping. They'd be like, happy shopping. Happy shopping. Like, huh? People were like, yeah, happy shopping. Like, yeah, so those people, like, that's consumerism right there, when you're like having a good time waiting in line. I remember, I don't think they do this anymore, but the video game stores like GameStop is very popular in the news right now, or like because they keep doing like the stock trade market keeps like overvaluing their stock and shit. So the company GameStop is like very popular for that. But they used to do, and then the stock goes down because people realize like the company isn't really that valuable, but then it goes up because people get fooled to think stock market's crazy. But they used to have these things called launch parties, where when the day the video game came out, you'd show up midnight launch. So midnight you'd go to the store and get in line, and you wait till midnight, and then they would open the door and you would get the game, right? And you could buy it. You have a chance to buy it. You'd have to I guess people do that for like iPhones. All right, I don't know if that's a thing that people still do now. Probably, right? But I know there was a time, like very popular products like the iPhone, that people would wait in line and shit and camp outside. That kind of consumerism, right? That's consumerism too. Is that healthy? Probably not. It's not really really great things you can say about that. Even for people who are like, yeah, I enjoy this. This is fun for me, right? It's a whole activity, but it's like, well, sure, but maybe you could spend your time doing something else. And and then, is that really a good use? You're having a good time, but is that, well, to each their own, right? To each their own. I mean, one could say the same thing about me with when I play my video games. It's like, well, You know, could you be making better use of your time? No, because I really do enjoy. You know, you gotta have your relaxation time. You gotta do that. So, but then I think it's funny. I do have the original box somewhere around here. I have my original copy. It's actually signed. I went to an anime convention, and they had the. That's why I didn't throw it out. I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere around here. Let me see if I can. It might be in the drawer, but it's probably not. Let me see. No, it's not in here. Nah, it's not in there. I don't know. But I have my original copy of Final Fantasy VII that I bought in like 1998. And I got it signed by the critic because they came to like some event in San Francisco or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to get the guy that did the music, Nobu Uematsu, he signed it. Which, you know, and then the director and shit. It's pretty cool. I got all the signs. Pretty funny. But yeah. The box art looks exactly the same as the original 1998, and this game came out in 2020, I think. And so you think that's the main character. His name is Cloud, and then there's the girl Tifa, and then Aerith. I'm sorry, and you know you have to like think. You gotta. Sometimes I think about it. It's like, is this healthy to be so obsessed over these imaginary characters in this imaginary world? But of course it is. You know, people love that shit. You know, it's like people who like comic books, or you know, people who read fantasy books, Lord of the Rings and stuff. It's a thing. But sometimes you do think about it. You're like, man, I'm spending a lot of money on this, but as long as you're having a good time. I brought this. This is Final Fantasy 16. 60. I mean, they're so far into it. I really like this game too. Some people don't like it because it's like so different from the others, but I really liked it. And sometimes, you know, I think like, damn, you know, I've been playing this series of games for like over 2 decades, like, or more, like, you know, yeah, like damn near 3 decades, right? It's like, maybe I should just give it a rest. But you know, it gives me joy. And then Joshua Baker says there is a lot of culture based off of consumerism. Yeah, like what I was showing before, like the vaporwave. Vaporwave is a genre of music, which is, you know, part of culture. Music genre is culture. And vaporwave, and a lot of vaporwave is based off of consumerism. And so, you know, you have to think about that. Like, it's not all bad, but we do have to take off those rose-colored glasses and be like, yeah. But that's why I like vaporwave, because vaporwave like understands that. Like, it's not like worshiping or glorifying. It's more just like poking fun and satirizing and like commentating on it in a way that like but you know, it also respects that era of like consumer culture. I mean, I think that is a term, right? Consumer culture. Yeah, it's kind of like saying, yeah, we love it, but it's not the most healthiest thing in the world. And like, let me show you why it's not the healthiest, but we still love it. You know? It's very honest in that way. It's all fascinating. It's all it's funny, you know. It's just interesting. A lot of stuff that I enjoy now is based off of nostalgia and consumerism. You know, I'm thinking about that, like what I just showed. You know, I played the original Final Fantasy 1. I played that game a long ass time ago. And now like they have the 16th one, right? It's been so long, and you just think about it, and you're like, damn. And I played the game, the 16th game, and of course they got like it's all brand new, and they got like the original one had really rudimentary graphics, and it was is on the Nintendo Entertainment System in the 1980s. So of course the graphics are like, in these standards, they're atrocious. But as a now I still go back to that game, and I love it because that just reminds me of when I was a kid and I was having a good time. But you play this game, and it's got like cinematic, high resolution, high depth graphics, but they still do all these callbacks to like the 80s, and you gotta like wonder, like you could say like, oh, that's so cool, they're like paying homage to the original, or what they doing, are they trying to manipulate you? Like, we know you like these, like they'll do these bleep and bloops, and these sound effects that are like from the 80s, they'll put them in the game. Right? And it really does, like, you just immediately this rush of like, yeah, I'm like 8 years old again. Right? And you just like playing these games, and you kind of wonder like, okay, you're like fucking manipulating me, but I love it. And then Azure Nimbus says hello again. Hey. Yeah, we're about to close here with consumerism. It was I always like to, because we kind of veered into a very different kind. We didn't get stuck on like consumerism and just like buying shit. We kind of veered into like topics of nostalgia and memory and culture, which is pretty cool. We didn't just consumerism is a fascinating thing to think about, because it's not just buying shit. There's a lot more to it than that, and not all of it is bad necessarily. Although I think some people would say like, yeah, it's all bad. And would I push back against that? Probably. I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right, but I don't know. Sometimes I buy shit and I feel good about it and it's fine. But like all in moderation. It is not, and it goes beyond like necessary stuff. Sometimes I buy shit because I like it. It makes me feel good, and that's fine. But in the back of my mind, I am like playing these games. I'm literally gonna play this game like right after I turn the stream off. I'm gonna like play these games. I'm gonna have a good time, and that's consumerism, baby. But yeah, I guess we'll close here unless anybody else has anything they want to discuss. We've reached our hour mark. I just if not, like just thanks for hanging out, and for those who want to who all hop on like watching the re-recording, feel free to do so. No pressure there. And you want to put a comment below, that's cool too. And then Joshua Baker says, buying things for fun could help your mental well-being. Yeah, I know the argument would be like, well, why do you have to buy shit to help your well-being? Like, we should live in a world where you don't have to buy stuff to. And of course, that's the goal, but we just don't live in that kind of world right now. So we gotta do the best that we can. And then the pushback would be like, well, you buying stuff isn't helping to make that world happen. It's like, well, you do what you can, right? You do what you can. So yeah, I think that's true. But yeah, thanks for everybody for hanging out, chilling on this. For me, it's like Saturday night. For you, it might be morning or whatever. But thanks, and yep, those who watch later, glad you watched, and we're gonna peace out from here. So, peace out. You've been watching the Black Ponderer. Tune in next time for more philosophical thought.